Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seitz Video College. Improving the knowledge of our customers has always been first priority for Seitz. We have a 125-year of history in making cleaning products for the textile care industry. We are very proud on our stain removal products, which we would like to present to you in the coming video. We found that there's a big need for further education of our products. Seitz is a worldwide represented brand for the textile care industry. Since 1885, we are developing, producing, and selling products for the textile care industry. For that purpose, we invited Roland Dobbins, a long-time employee of Seitz.
Thank you, Alex. I'm pleased to explain the benefits of some of our outstanding products to you. We will provide a brief and detailed overview of stain removal products and their uses. We will offer stain removal information and tips for your use. We will address the tools and techniques of the trade. We will demonstrate actual stain removal techniques and tips for a battery of different stains. And finally, we will provide detailed demonstrations individually so that you may review them quickly for specific stains. What we use here on the spotting board. What we have here is a stiff bristle brush. We use this in a tamping motion in order to help give us mechanical action. So essentially you're going to hold it in the palm of your hand like this, wrap your hand around it, and you can do kind of a throwing motion. Okay? Bring it down to the spotting board and tamp. Hit it flatly, don't hit off to the sides, up or down. Motion, and you're just giving it a little tamping. Okay? So that's how you tamp. Again, like this, hold it like that, a little throwing motion, and boom. We do it this way so you don't put undue pressure on your joints using that whole shoulder to do the motion. So that's tamping with a stiff bristle brush. We have here a soft bristle brush, much softer for finer and more delicate items. Same thing, place it in your hand, just give it a nice tamping motion. It's much softer. We also have a cloth covered brush, much like this brush except covered with cloth. Cloth covered brush is very nice when you're using delicate things like satin, you're doing wedding gown dresses, silks. The cloth covered brush, you don't have to worry about it snagging when it grabs things. If it grabs a towel or that, it won't pick it up and snag it like these kind of brushes will. Okay, they'll move. So cloth covered brush is a nice thing to have. We also have, which is unique to Seitz, these beautiful little brushes for doing small areas. If you have a small area that you want to work on and you're putting a little bit of chemistry there, you can simply tamp in this area very effectively, either dry side or wet side, using the brush to work in a small area. These are available from Seitz. Oftentimes we'll use a Q-tip in order to work in a small area. So we'll add chemistry to the Q-tip and then go in and work in a small area so that we're not spreading the stain around. The Q-tip also allows us to absorb dyes, and so a Q-tip is very helpful. Make sure you buy the ones with cardboard in between and not plastic, as the plastic will melt with some of the POGs. The spatula, the bone spatula. Very important how you use this. Typically, you're going to add chemistry, put the chemistry on, and you're going to push and pull with this edge, the tip edge. Push and pull with this. Use a different set of chemistry, you turn it over, push and pull this way. It's not designed to be rubbing with this part of the bone. If you're going to massage the stain, you use the back part of the bone. Back part of the bone is not sharp, and you can easily rub very gently in the stain. If you have to physically rub the stain out, then you're not using the right chemistry. If you have the right chemistry, you should gently give mechanical action with the bone and be able to get the effect that you want very gently working on the back of the fabric. More of the damage happens in a dry cleaners from this bone and this gun than any other thing. So you must be very aware of using this very gently. If you have a very large area stained like this, you can put your chemistry on and move large areas with the side of the bone to work on a large area. Generally, you're better off, though, making into a smaller area, working it that way. So the bone. In addition to this, we always need lots of cotton towels. It's important to have cotton towels simply because they absorb. They make you fast. When you're steaming over a cotton towel, it'll absorb any undue residue. It'll also pick up the moisture from the steam gun, and they're very, very helpful in removing stains. Having a lot of these, I normally have a whole list of them underneath. Very important. These are just common cotton Turkish towels. We normally will use net bags. I have two types of nets here. Have a fine net, fine mesh net, and a coarse laundry net mesh. So if you're doing laundry, this is great for this. This is great for protecting against buttons, getting off and hitting other things, protecting against zippers. This kind of thing works great for doing silks, other things with delicate decorative trim on them to protect those things. So that's what we use that for. I'd like to show you how to test for dyes to find out if dyes are fugitive. The best way to do it is take your garment and look for a place, a side seam, or some place where you can inspect. You can see in between here, some place where you can inspect without damaging it to find out if it's going to take color. In this case, we have a nice, convenient shoulder item that we can test on here. And so what we would do is we would add moisture to our towel and take our towel and rub it on that area. And I'm rubbing pretty hard. And we're looking to see if there's any dye bleed. If there's no dye bleed with this moisture, probably it's safe to be used with moisture. In the same way, we can change the part of the towel to a different place and add some solvent onto our towel and rub in a different place with solvent to find out if it's sensitive to solvent. If it bleeds, then you know you probably shouldn't be using that on it. So this is a good way to test items to make sure that they're color fast. When you use the board and you come over and use the gun, in this case we're going to turn on the vacuum here. When I step down, I should get vacuum coming out of the machine. If you have a garment that you're putting over that, you can clearly see that a good vacuum will pull down on the material as you pull across it. When we use the gun on the board, we're basically going to work the gun over the nozzle for flushing. So if we flush, we're going to flush on the end of the board. If we're going to work on a stain, we're going to work over here on the hard surface of the board. So say for instance I was putting some chemistry down. I'm going to work in this area on the board, wipe the board afterwards with my towel, and then go out to the end of the board for steam, vacuum, and air. And the way this works is we're flushing with the steam. We're sucking with the vacuum. And we're going to use the air. Notice I spray away the air to get the moisture out of the gun. We're going to use the air. And we use the air to flush the chemistry through. So essentially we're pushing the air through. We're pulling through with the vacuum. And this combination is going to allow us to flush chemistry and particulates through the vacuum board. Now, in the same way that this is made, this happens to be a surface that holds up very, very well to chemistry. If you have a stainless steel surface or you have a glass surface on your spotting board, things like rust removers placed on this surface will etch into the board. And so we don't want to use those there. We'll use them over a towel. We'll pull a towel in. I use a lot of towels in my spotting process, and so the towel covers and allows me to bring the garment up and over, and the towel will absorb a lot of the moisture that we use in the gun. So I use a lot of towels. So if I'm going to spot this, I first turn on the vacuum, turn on the steam and spray away, add my moisture, and as you can see, there's not so much moisture on this silk blouse because it's been absorbed into the towel. So then I'll simply move to a dry part of the towel, bring my garment back, and I'll air dry by blowing the air out of the gun, adding vacuum, and notice I'm staying up in the air. I'm staying up higher. Use the gun. But by using this method between the high vacuum, the dry air, and the towel, just like that, it's dry. It only took a second. Using this system speeds you up as a stain removal artist. You can get through a lot of stains very quickly because you're not waiting for things to dry. So using a lot of these towels, moving them around, you can see the vacuum is mainly in the center, and moving them around the gun, around the board, will give you exactly what you need as far as removing moisture and fleshing things through. So there we have the spotting board usage. Okay, I'd like to show you a little bit about using the spotting gun. As I've said before, the gun tends to be a dangerous item in spotting. A lot of damages happen with it if it's not used properly. First of all, if you have a gun and you're using the air, you can see the air moving the skin on the back of my hand. If you get too close, it really causes some damage. If you lift the gun up higher, it's very, very gentle. And you're not getting much problem with distorting fibers and those kind of things. Also, in using the gun, we use the gun straight down, always straight down. So we're moving always like this, never shooting like this. If we shoot at this kind of an angle, watch the skin on my hand. You can see it just basically pushes the material off to one side, and it can cause damage. So again, lift the gun up for a gentler action. We use steam on the gun. Always spray the steam away first. You want to get the moisture out of the gun. What we want is the moisture, we don't want the heat. So essentially heat is when the gun gets too close. So we're going to use the moisture from up high. By doing this, it's not hot. Okay? So use the moisture on there, and that's what we're trying to achieve. Flushing through with the moisture from the gun. Okay, and many guns you have a setting on the pedals that you can add more moisture by stepping down farther on the pedal. If you have that type of spotting board, then that works fine. If you have this type of gun, you only have the one control over it. Continuing on with the usage of the gun, there's an arm on most spotting boards, and this arm allows us to come over and use the vacuum and the steam for smaller areas. So if I want to get in here and get just the sleeve, I can pull the sleeve up on here, again using my towel, and you notice that it's still got the vacuum on the board, still has the hard surface area. So if I was going to put chemistry on, I'd use chemistry here on this red silk. I'd work my chemistry very gently here. And then when I'm ready to flush out, wipe the area off, put my towel on there. Be able to pull my gun, spray away the steam again to dry out the steam. Turn on my vacuum, which is now pulling through here. So as I turn on the vacuum, add the steam, and I flush. Seitz chemicals keep working, so you make sure that you're flushing a minimum of 10 seconds to get out the residue of the stain. Then this area is wet. You can probably see how wet it is. It's got a little bit of dye coming through there. Fairly close here. Now I'm going to pull the wetted area back up on the towel. So we're holding it, adding vacuum. Very quickly, air dry. Notice I'm staying up in the air with the gun, not getting too close to the silk. And it dries very quickly. As I'm moving the silk around on here, I'm not really pulling on it, I'm not stretching on it. You can see how quickly it dries. Does a great job speeding you up. So to get into small areas, you can certainly get up into the nooks and crannies of items to work on specific stains using this arm. So it's another tool in your arsenal of the ability to remove stains. If you're using Polyspot for hydrocarbon, Polyspot Odorsorb for hydrocarbon, it's simply 1 part solvent and 2 parts Polyspot Odorsorb. Spray it on, designed to go directly in the machine. So it does a great job. You can also use Polyspot Odorsorb straight. We do have Polyspot KWV, and we use Polyspot KWV for hydrocarbon. Polyspot KWV for hydrocarbon then is used 1 part Polyspot KWV, 1 part hydrocarbon. And we spray that in the machine. Oftentimes we'll add a very small amount, usually 1 part of moisture in that situation. And we'll use that on items that are not moisture sensitive as far as dyes, and we'll spray it on, throw it right in the machine. For hydrocarbon, we have our 1, 2, 3 kit as a pre-spotter. Again, we have our paint, oil, and grease remover for hydrocarbon, Solvex 1. It's in the lavender bottle. We have Solvex 2, which is our protein remover for all types of protein stains, anything from a human or animal. Generally that's blood, milk, cream. For tannin stains, anything that grows from a plant, we have our Solvex 3, and the Solvex 3 is very, very good for those type of stains. These are all designed to be put on the garment, on the stain. You can work them a little bit and then simply throw them right in the machine. The one caveat to this is that you need to make sure that you're not putting too much on. The solvent can only rinse away so much, so you don't need a large amount put on. We use the small caps and cut it very, very high on the caps so that we're putting on just a small amount and put it in the machine. All of these can be masked with the Polyspot that you use at the end to help them rinse out after you're done. And again, that's just a little misting on there. So these are the Solvex 1, 2, 3 kit, very valuable in pre-spotting. Polyspot GE, we're mixing it with 4 parts Polyspot GE, 3 parts solvent, and 1 part water. And that becomes our pre-spotting agent in the spray bottle. And it makes a wonderful spray pre-spotter for use in the machine. For our Green Earth customers, we have this set of 3 pre-spotters, Solvex 1, Solvex 2, Solvex 3. When you're using Green Earth silicone, this works very well as a paint, oil, and grease remover, supplementing what you're doing with our Polyspot GE. The Solvex 1 is good for paint, oil, and grease. Solvex 2 is good for removing stains from an animal, things like blood, milk, or creams. Solvex 3 is for tannin stains, again from removing anything growing from a plant, things like beverages, sugars. It's excellent for that. Remember with Green Earth, it's very tough sometimes to rinse in our Green Earth and alternative solvents, so we want to use very small amounts of these items before we put it in the machine. These products are all designed to be put in on the textile and thrown directly in the machine. You can mask these items with a little spritzer of the Polyspot GE before you put them in the machine, and this will help them to rinse. But a wonderful kit here to use in pre-spotting, very, very helpful. Okay. Showing you Polyspot SL, and Polyspot SL is for PERC products, and what we do with Polyspot SL is a pre-spotter or pre-brushing agent. We mix this in the pre-spotter in a spotting bottle for spray bottle, and we mix it 1 part water to 1 part Polyspot SL. If we're going to mix it as a leveling agent, we'll mix it 1 part Purosol solvent and 1 part SL. Polyspot can be used as a pre-spotter by itself in a spotting bottle and simply capped and used as a pre-spotter. It's a wonderful product. Everybody should be using this product. If you're using PERC, it's just easy enough to spray on, throw it right in the machine. There's no waiting. We have Polyspot Odazorb. Polyspot Odazorb is very similar to Polyspot SL. You can use it, however, in both hydrocarbon and in PERC. It's a wonderful product that we can mix. Generally, the mix is a little different. When we're putting it in a spray spotter, we're mixing it 1 part water with 1 part Polyspot Odazorb. So with Polyspot Odazorb, if you're doing it with solvent, then we're using 1 part Purosol and 2 parts Polyspot Odazorb. And we'll use that in our spray bottle, and it works very, very well, and you're getting the benefits of Odazorb in the pre-spotter. Again, it's designed to be sprayed on and thrown right in the machine. Okay, so we have our pre-spotters here. These are our 1, 2, 3 kits for perchlorethylene. It's V1, V2, V3. You've probably seen our chart on our chart, V1 is for using for paint, oil, and grease type stains. And we do have instructions on the back side of the bottles in several different languages, but it's basically paint, oil, and grease. Just simply put it on the item. It's designed to go directly into the machine. No flushing is required. So this is for paint, oil, and grease. This one is for protein. Protein is for protein stains. Anything that comes from an animal or human generally is a protein stain. Things like cream, milk, blood. Use this for protein stains. Again, designed to go on and go directly in the machine. V3 is simply a tannin stain remover. This does for most of your beverages other than milk. Anything that comes from a plant is a tannin stain, and the V3 will cover that. And so we use these as pre-spotters designed to go on and go in the machine. As with all pre-spotters, you don't need to put so much on. We have the smaller tips on this, so you just put a little bit on, add it into the machine. Wetset Max is our pre-spotter for laundry. Does a great job on collar cleaning, removing oils and fats on collars, and it's designed to be mixed. We sell it actually in a spray bottle, in a 1 liter spray bottle. You can mix it in water, and typically we use it straight. Only time we'd add water is if it doesn't spray easily. So you can use this and simply spray it on the area where you want to use it and throw it in the machine. Does a great job with helping to remove oils and all types of stains. Wetset Max. For our wet side cleaning, we have a pre-spotter set of 1, 2, 3. This is Hydrate 1, Hydrate 2, Hydrate 3. Hydrate 1 is a paint, oil, and grease remover. Very valuable in helping to remove oil stains in wet side cleaning. Hydrate 2 is for human and animal stains, basically for blood, for milk, creams, those kind of things. Works very, very well. Hydrate 3 is for tannin stains. Works very well for beverages, any type of item that grows from a plant, like sugar. So it works very well with this. You simply put them on and throw them in the machine. They're designed to rinse down the drain. So this is Hydrate 1, 2, and 3. It's a great kit for using with either wet cleaning or laundry, anytime you're cleaning with water. Alright, this is our professional 7-bottle spotting kit. I'd like to introduce Quickall, which is our neutral synthetic detergent and lubricating agent. This product does a great job on blue ink, yellow ink, red ink, yellow highlighter. It's wonderful for olive oil, vegetable oils, and you'll find that you use this a lot. When you look at our chart, you'll see that this is all the way across the top of the board. This is our paint, oil, and grease remover called Liposol. Removes makeup, oils, waxes, particularly petroleum oils, the key marks that are on your pants. Does a great job with that. This is our Purosol, and Purosol is a VDS, a volatile dry solvent. This product works wonderfully on makeup, gum. It will rinse all the other products that we have up here in our kit, and it is a solvent, but designed to be able to use on the spotting board here. The yellow bottle is our Francosol. Francosol is designed to remove dairy products. It is a very mild protein. It works on blood and everything that we would normally say is a protein stain. It does a great job on cream silks or other types of silks because it is so mild. You'll see a lot of times on our spotting kit that you use the blue bottle and then the yellow bottle right after it. And the reason is these two in combination can remove 66% of all stains. They're also very, very safe. This bottle is the Tannin. It's called Cavasol. Cavasol removes tannin stains. Tannin stains are anything that grows from a plant, and things like all your beverages go for there, your juices come from this, anything with sugar in it. This is going to help you remove. So this does a great job on those kind of things. Red wine, white wine. That's Cavasol. Blutol. Blutol is a protein stain remover. Blutol removes anything from an animal or a human, things like milk or cream, blood, urine, all these type of things are removed by Blutol. It does a great job. It's very, very safe. You are going to have to be aware that it's strong. Last one is Colorsol. Colorsol does a great job of removing dyes. It is a dye lifter. If you have a navy blue dress with a white collar and you have fugitive dye on the white collar, either from the navy blue dress or from something else, this will help you to lift it and move it. It requires a little bit of heat. When you add some heat to it, you have good control over removing those type of stains with this. This is not a bleach of any kind. It is simply a chemistry that we use to lift dyes. You do have to be aware that it's not safe on some acetates. It may discolor the acetates. So you should always test on those things. So this is our 7-bottle professional spotting kit. We use the beaker that we have here to refill the bottles. And it's essentially, when you use the bottle, you'll have a certain amount that's left over. And so, say you had this much left in your bottle, you could simply fill this up the rest of the way to the top of the beaker here. Use our handy little unit here and just simply, after you've filled it all the way to the top, refill the bottle without fear of overfilling the bottle. This works very well. You can rinse this out afterwards. That's a great way of refilling your bottles. I'd like to discuss our rust remover. This is our Ferrule N. Ferrule N just what it says, designed to remove rust. It's also helpful in removing tannin stains as a little boost to our tannin stain remover, but it's got a real nice pH. The advantage in Ferrol N is that it's an oxalic acid, gives you time to be able to remove rust stains without actually oxidizing metals that are around it. So it's a great product, very easy to use. Simply put it on and flush it out. It flushes very, very easily. Okay, this is our product, Ferrol. Ferrol is a rust remover. Works very, very well as a rust remover. It's also helpful in removing tannin stains. You can add it to our regular tannin stain remover to boost the removal of tannin stains. Very, very helpful. Simply make a small hole in our cap, put it right on. That's it. This is our enzymatic remover, Liposol L. Liposol we use to remove old blood stains, any type of old protein stains or fresh protein stains that need enzymatic reaction. This basically works like your stomach when it's digesting food, and that's exactly what it is as a digester. We wet the area, place this on it, keep it warm, keep it moist, and it does a great job of removing old blood or other old protein type stains. And that is Liposol L. Liposol is a clear liquid, very easy to use. Or lycra little outfit, and we have some lipstick on it. And this we're going to take out here. Typically for lipstick we're going to use the Quick All to begin with, as you probably see on the chart there. And because we have an excess here, we put quite a bit on. We're going to use a towel, put the towel underneath to absorb that excess that's on there. So we're going to apply just a few drops across there. Take our bone and we'll work over the hard surface on the board. And we're going to gently, we can add a few more drops and add the vacuum. You can see it's starting to break up. At this point in time, when you remove it, you see that the dyes are here. So it's important that you move the towel or your absorptive substance, whatever you're using, to another spot so that that dye has someplace to go. And we're going to do the same thing. Add a few drops on there. Give it some mechanical action. And again, I'm going very gently with the mechanical action. Or we can go to our next product, which is the Lacol. And so we'll use the Lacol, which works very well in conjunction with the Quick All. The two of these together, vacuum and our steam. Add to this mix is our Puresol. And Puresol is just a solvent. Add a little bit of that to it, and it helps to remove our stain. And again, then we can flush out over the end, and you can see the Puresol really made it come out. And you can actually flush through with the Puresol in that area, because it's a solvent. Use the air. If you get down to the end of the stain and you can't quite get it all the way out, you can also use the color sol to complete the action and heat up the color sol, and that will remove any remaining dyes. But I think this shows that it gets it out. Spandex is very stretchy, makes it very hard to get out, and a lot of you have asked me, can I show that? So here we are. Silk material, very sheer, and we're going to remove this lipstick stain on the silk. So as you see in your spotting chart, we're going to use the Quick-All. Very gently giving some mechanical action. And you can see that much of the dye just blows right through. So we'll move to an area that doesn't have so much dye in it. You can see that it's very much gone. You can actually flush through with the Quick-All using the vacuum on the board and put a few drops just to flush right through. And I'm just going to blow through with air. Because it's silk, I'm holding the gun up fairly high. Dry. So we remove the stain. So what we have here is a spandex suit that we're going to use with some makeup on it. And so to remove this makeup, we're going to use a towel to be absorptive, and we're going to pull up just here to the middle of the board. Purosol, and we're going to start this time with our Purosol and just add a few drops on there. Motion there, we're not getting much effect with that, so go to our Liposol. Much better effect with the Liposol. And oftentimes we'll use the Quick-All. And this is foundation. There's a little air. You can see it's flushing it right onto the towel. Again, we change to another part of the towel. So sometimes when you get down to this part and it's coming almost all the way out but not quite, you can use our color sol. Adding the color sol to remove the remaining pigments, and you just work it in. And then we're going to add a little bit of heat. Spray the steam away and use that heat to just heat up the color sol. You see with good effect, and put it on the vacuum and flush it through. Using air now. Okay. So I'd like to show how we do blue ink on, this happens to be a plain swatch, cotton swatch. And so what we'll do is we'll move it to the hard surface. We'll put an absorptive material underneath it. We're going to use, first of all, our Quick-All. Use a couple drops of Quick-All. You can see it immediately starting to break up the stain. The ink comes out very easily. We're using a little bit of mechanical action, not very much, on here. A couple more drops. And now we're going to vacuum it onto the towel. While we're doing that, we'll add a little bit of steam. And you can see that the dye runs right down into the towel. Very little left on our swatch. So easily you can come back use a little more Quickall. Do a gentle massage. Again, flush through with steam and vacuum. Little air. And there we have the ink on. So we're going to also do blue ink on gold lame. This is actually a metal fiber. And in dealing with metals, you never want to use rust removers because obviously it'll oxidize the metal and cause it to break down or turn black. But on this, we have blue ink. Add just a little bit of our Quickall. We're going to rub very gently, and it's very important when working with gold lame that you rub very gently because you can actually leave lines. Now you can see almost the addition of the chemistry pulls the stain out. It's very, very easy to remove stains on this, providing you're not too aggressive with the gun. You can add just a little bit over the top, and it sucks it right through. And you're really dealing with metal here. So we're going to go ahead and flush with steam. Notice I'm staying up in the air with the steam gun. Add air. And we're flushing right underneath. You can see the blue ink coming right through the gold lame. So even if you have a garment that has the gold lame trim, you're able to get blue ink out of it and many other inks out of it. It moves fairly easily. You just need to be careful how you're using it. It's a Tommy Bahama style shirt. You'll notice that the inside there's no pigment. So if we turn the material over, it's all on the outside. Very easy for the colors to come off of these. Many of you have seen these, and they can be very dangerous. So we have some blue ink on here. So we're going to turn the shirt around where it's easy for us to get inside of it. We're going to use an absorptive material, go underneath it. We're going to work over this part of the board. You can see the blue ink stain here. We're just going to use the same Quickall that we started with. A few drops here. Give it gentle mechanical action. Now it's always wise on this type of garment, because we know that the dyes can be very fugitive, to test this before you put chemistry on here for color fast. So you'll want to know that when you use the steam gun, that this garment can accept that steam and it's not going to blow the color all the way through. And the best means to test that is to pull back the fabric, test it in an unexposed place before you do this. So I'm going to bring it down just a little to the nozzle of the gun, turn on my vacuum, nozzle of the board, turn on my vacuum, and we're going to flush through very gently. I'm going to stop flushing now just to check my color. Well, certainly the blue is coming out, but we have no color coming out of the shirt. So I'm not concerned about that color any longer. I just want to get that dye away from it. And You can see that pretty much the blue is gone. We'll add just a little bit more of the Quickall, which does such a great job on blue ink, green ink, yellow highlighter, oil stains like from salad dressings. Very easy to get out on these type of things. Very gently action going here. Vacuum again. Steam. Flushing the stain through. Not necessary to do it more than you need to. Feather around the outside edges. I'll go to a dry spot in the towel. And you can see that our blue stain is gone. And we're good to go with no dye bleed on the back. So we have red and black plaid with whiteout on it. And whiteout is to be treated pretty much just like ink. So we'll pull it up here, spotting board, put our towel underneath in the same way. We're going to start this with Liposol. This is a heavy dose of the whiteout that we put on here. So it's very thick. I'm rubbing very, very gently. You can see it starting to break down. A little bit of Perchlorethylene is helpful sometimes with whiteout. And you can see it starting to break down. Oftentimes on this type of stain, when they're very hard, you're better off giving it a few seconds to just sit and work. So all we're really trying to do is flush this excess from the front to the back. You can see a little bit of the dye running with this. So we'll go to a different spot. And we're going to flush through with the Perchlorethylene, vacuum. And we're essentially just dry cleaning right here on the end of the board, using the Perchlorethylene as our solvent. Again, you can also add Quickall, because on some types of whiteouts, particularly if they're moisture-based, then the Quickall is very helpful. These three work extremely well together. And again, you can simply flush right onto here, flush it out, bring your gun air dry, and just like that, the whiteout's removed. So what we have here is black ink. Black ink sometimes is a little bit different. We're doing it on a plain swatch. And you can see so oftentimes the black ink turns to kind of a purple color. Oftentimes if you have an ink load, you'll see this kind of a purple coloring when it comes out. It still may be black ink and not blue ink. So what you'll want to do is just give it a little bit of mechanical action. Get something absorptive like this towel, and we'll just put a little bit more on there and try to absorb as much of the ink into the towel as we can. The less ink there is on the swatch, the easier it is for us to remove it. So use a little bit of mechanical action. And you can see it now looks blue, but it's really black ink. We use Liposol. Liposol, as you can see, is starting to move the dye, and certainly we can just simply wipe that off our table. You can apply some more of the Liposol onto there. It works fairly well. See the ink still moving. There's a lot of pigment in black ink, and because of that, they're tiny, tiny particles. They really tend to get hidden inside the fibers. Once we get it through, again, I'm not flushing with steam yet. I will flush with a little bit of the chemistry through into the towel to try and get the ink through. Turn on your vacuum. Then you can use Purosol to flush your lacquer out with. And do this on the dry side. Just like dry cleaning right here on the end of the board. Using our air, just flush it through. And when we're down to this point where we're pretty much the ink is gone, we just have a little bit of residue left. Now we can add in, with the lacquer, we can add in our Quick-All. And you can use Quick-All with lacquer at any time. They work very, very well together. And again, I'm rubbing very, very gently on this to remove the black ink. Now is at the point where you can actually add steam. Flush through with the steam. And flushing out the ring. And then going for the steam. And so we're removing the black ink. Obviously doing it on a piece of cotton swatch is much easier than it is doing it on a regular material, like if you're doing a blouse or that. This is just a silk swatch. You can clearly see the black ink stain running through here. I put it right on the yellow so it'd be easy to see. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to add just the lacquer onto the silk. And you see that dye just running, the dye from the ink. Now if you've recently dry cleaned this garment, much of this may be gone and you're left with more of the concentrated dye and pigment. This still works exactly the same way. So we flush it down onto the towel, move to a place that's not contaminated, and do exactly the same thing again. It's very, very sheer silk fabric, so you have to be a little bit careful with how hard you rub. We're kind of down to the point now where even though we haven't added the Quick-All, we could just flush. So we're going to add steam, we're going to add the vacuum, little air, but you can clearly see the black ink stain's gone. Very easy on silk, and it's this way on silk blouses, on anything, providing it will take the chemistry. So what we have here is a khaki pant with lining on the inside, and we have motor oil on it. Pull this up on here. Move the lining up a little bit higher and get to the motor oil. We're just going to use Purosol to try and flush through the motor oil. So we use the vacuum. I'll do one little area here with the Purosol. And by itself you can see that the Purosol is flushing out the motor oil. Little air. And just that easily it's gone. Now you may find with the Solvex or Hydrate or V123 kit that you could just simply use the lavender bottle, which is the one, and put that on the area that you want to work on, and it will flush out inside the machine, whether you're using dry cleaning or you're using laundry. And so you can use that. A little spray of our Polyspot afterwards before we throw it in the machine is very, very helpful in rinsing the remaining residue that's on there. So that's how you get motor oil out. So what we have here is wax. This is wax on a cotton napkin. Oftentimes you'll get these kind of things after the holidays, but it's just candle wax dripped down on top of there. So essentially what we'd like to do is try and get this out. You can also use our Liposol, which assists in helping to remove the dye that's inherent in the wax. Obviously wax is clear, but the dye that's on here is not. So we're going to do the same thing. Flush through. We're going to blot. Picking up a lot of that dye into there. At this point you might try and just add the Liposol and flush through with the gun, using mostly the heat from the gun and trying to flush it through to the back side. Notice I'm being very careful not to hit the fabric too hard. I'll turn on the vacuum so it's sucking it through. And obviously the heat is melting the wax, and we're trying to move it to another place. We're moving it here. You can finish off with a little bit of the Perchlorethylene, which is a solvent to help you remove the last remnants of the dye. And there you are. Chewing gum, just regular Trident chewing gum. It's been well chewed, and it's been placed on the napkin. You get this all the time. Sometimes you get it out of the dryer. You can simply use our Perchlorethylene. Use Perchlorethylene on the stain. It helps to lift it, and try and pry that up with your bone. And if you can catch it just right, you can actually lift it up. It's kind of smearing it too. The other way you can do it is you can add Perchlorethylene to the end of a cloth and simply brush it and pick that gum up onto the cloth. Okay, so now the gum's on the cloth. You'll still have a little left over in here, which you can vacuum. You can see it in there, and it'll just flush right through. This will chew that gum right up. If you still have a little trouble with it, you can see there's a little left over there. You can add a little bit of our Liposol. If you're using one of our 1, 2, 3 kits, the 1 is the bottle that you'd use for this before cleaning. So you can easily get out a gum stain. And there we are. Red nail polish on a swatch. I'm going to show you how to get it on the swatch, and then we'll also do it on a red silk. So nail polish generally comes out better with Liposol and Perchlorethylene, our dry side removers. We'll add a little bit of Perchlorethylene to wet the area. Start to break it down with our bone just a little bit. Add the Liposol. You can see it starting to break up. Notice I'm doing it on the hard surface part of the board. There's many different types of nail polishes, and oftentimes different products will help you in removing these. It's usually these two products or the addition of Quickall, which can be helpful in removing it. We're going to add 2 drops there. And you can see the Quickall basically lifts the dyes up and kind of holds them, suspends them, because it's a good lubricating agent. So we'll move here. We'll take our towel, wipe the area off, move on to here, and we're just going to add vacuum, and we're just going to flush with the chemistry right through. And just with all Seitz products, they're rinsable with steam. So you can steam out the remainder of the area. This is what commonly happens when someone goes to a meeting. They get a nice name tag on, and you get some adhesive. This happens to be a silk blouse, a lot of decorative trim on it, which has really no bearing on this other than we have some adhesive on here. So we're going to peel the adhesive off. Notice I'm peeling at a 90-degree angle from the material to keep from tearing the material. And we're going to use our Perchlorethylene right here. And you can see that line coming around it. So we're basically just going to turn on the vacuum and flush through and remove that adhesive. Now on some solvents you'll be able to just dry clean it and most of that adhesive will go away, and other ones you'll have to do some more work on it like we're doing here. So typically the adhesive stain is just removed with Perchlorethylene, a bottle of Perchlorethylene. Oftentimes Liposol is necessary on adhesives. It works very well with that. These two work together very well. And on some moisture sensitive adhesives, the Quickall also works very, very well. So that's what you use to help you with adhesives. Bear in mind that some of these type of fabrics, if you use POGs on them, can cause them to crack. And so you want to be careful with that. Always be careful of decorative trim. So what we have here is a gown. This is a satin gown. As you know, satin is a weave and not a fabric. So this is a satin gown which we have some oil stains on, vegetable oil stains, which typically are very hard to get out on satin. And so this is something I'm going to show you how to get out. Now if you were pre-spotting, you could simply use our #1 spotter out of our kits, whether you're using Hydrate or Solvex. Any one of those kits you can use this particular bottle on, pre-spot, and put it in the machine. Always in moderation with these. For our purposes, for post-spotting, we're going to lay down the towel. Let the weight of the gown drop underneath the spotting table. Come right up onto the towel here. And we're going to take some Perchlorethylene and attempt to get it out by using vacuum and just the Perchlorethylene applied on here. Doesn't take a lot. Add air. And it's better if you move the towel slightly. And of course move over the vacuum itself. You can see it just basically sucking the solvent right through. So you can add some Perchlorethylene right over the towel here. If you don't want to have that splash, you can use your finger over it like this. Add your air. And you can see we have just a little, if I pull the towel down a little bit, we have just a little bit of the residue left on here. So this gives me an opportunity to show you a little bit about feathering with dry side chemistry. If you were going to dry clean, you could simply put this in the dry cleaning machine now and expect it to come out. Oftentimes using just a little bit of polyspot and a little misting action before you put it in the machine. If you don't wish to put it back in and you need to get this out, just put a little Perchlorethylene on here, and we're going to dry side feather by using the vacuum and just brushing from the inside to the outside while the vacuum's on. And this will remove most of that out of it. If you still have some on there, you can use, again, your solvent and feathering inside to the outside. Removing the oil stains, making it easier for you to get them out in the cleaning. So what we have is egg yolk, 8 whites on a cotton blouse knit. Makes it a little harder. We're going to pull it up on here. We're going to work on the egg white first. And we're going to use that with our Frankisol. So we'll wet the area with steam. We're going to add Frankisol to that area. And Frankisol is a mild protein. It's very, very safe and works extremely well. We're going to pull up just a little bit here to where we're on the hard part of the surface, and we're going to use our brush and we're going to tamp, okay, onto this knit. We're going to use the softer of the two brushes, and so we're simply going to work it here. And this is just mechanical action is all we're adding, giving it a little bit of time to work. One thing that people do is they put on the chemistry and then they want to flush it right out immediately. You need at least 5 to 10 seconds for the agents to work. So we want it to break up that stain a little bit. On the egg yolk, we bring it here. We're going to use our towel underneath. And the towel is just a method to speed things up for you. And we're going to flush through. Now when you're doing knits, it's important as you flush that you grab the knit and pinch the knit together to take the pressure, the weight off of it. Otherwise, when you wet it, it'll stretch. So we're going to grab it like this, and it may make it harder for you to see what I'm doing, but see? And again, this motion of holding it, having it on the towel, keeps it from stretching out the knit and creating problems for you. So we just move to a dry part of the towel. And this is just the egg white. And again, we're going to take some of the pressure off, add vacuum, add air, and air dry this portion. I'm not going to dry it all the way, but you can see and you can clearly feel that the egg white is gone. Egg is very hard to get out of a lot of things because it binds around it and it's a protein. So now we have the egg yolk. Egg yolk is exactly the same whether it's the white or the yolk. It's a little easier to see the egg yolk. We're going to start off by wetting just a little. Wetting the area. Of course, using the Frankisol first because we know it's egg. If we were unsure as to what it was, we would probably use the Quickall first as a lubricant agent. But since we already know that it's egg yolk, we're going to tamp it. Again, the tamping is just mechanical action. That's all we're trying to do. We're neither rubbing or trying to whisk it off. We're simply tamping it. Every time I hit with the brush, the solvent, the product that we put on here, the agent goes down, hits the table, comes back up into the brush, inside the brush, and back down to the table again. action. It's kind of a gush, 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 gush. So we're going to attempt to get it out right now this way. If we felt like we needed more, we would use our Liposol, which is our protein remover, and we would add that. And you can use both of them right together. They're perfectly fine together. This is simply a mild version of this with a lot of surfactants in it. So again, we'll do a little tamping. So now we pull down our towel. Again, we want to protect the fibers. Take a little pressure off of it. Give it steam. You shouldn't have to worry about your hand because we're just looking for moisture, not heat. So you can see we've made quite a bit of progress on here with this. Sometimes when you have egg or any protein that's sat for a long period of time, you may need to use our enzyme product, Liposol. Enzyme products really need to be neutral pH, so you need to flush very, very well before we put that on. And I will show later in our video here how to use this enzyme product on this particular egg to get out the rest of the way. I'm fairly certain this would come out just continuing on like this, but I want to save this for when we use the enzymes. So what we have here is our Tommy Bahama shirt, Tommy Bahama style shirt, where the dyes don't go all the way through. Of course, you'll want to test this to make sure that the dyes are compatible with moisture before you do this. But we have a blood stain on the collar. Oftentimes you get shaving stains. This is blood right here on the collar. So as long as we know that it'll take moisture, we'll be able to treat this. What we do with blood is we add a little bit of moisture right from the beginning, and we don't want the heat, we just want the moisture. So a little bit of moisture on top of there. We'll add our Frankosol, which is the safest of our removers for protein. Just a couple drops on there. And we can tamp this. We have a nice little tamping brush here that we can use, and we can actually tamp with this brush. We can tamp with a larger brush as well, but we have a small area to work in here. So we're tamping with this brush, just creating mechanical action. You can look behind there to see if you have any dyes going, and obviously I'm working on the table, not where the holes are when I'm tamping. So again, just tamping right there like that. And you can see it's having a pretty good effect just with that on there. If I need more, I can use the Liposol. The Liposol does a great job of continuing on where we were working to get out the blood. Now if your customer brings in these type of shirts soon after they've gotten the blood on it, it's obviously much easier to get it off. You may need to use a little hydrogen peroxide, just regular small amount, 5% hydrogen peroxide. You can add that to this and also use that to help you remove it. But we're actually doing very well with this, just as we are. Push the residue through. I'm not getting very close because I don't want to push the dye through. You use some air, just dry it a little bit. Move to a dry spot on the towel. Now one thing to note, oftentimes when you see this light green, these light tans, the khaki colors or the olive colors in these type of shirts, they are very sensitive to colors. When you use an alkali, which is what's in the protein, so oftentimes you'll soften that color. It'll turn a little yellow or it'll get a little off. If that happens, you can neutralize that color change with a tannin. You simply put the tannin on in the same area, work it in the same way, and you should clean your brush before you do this. You don't have any residue left in there. Tamp it in. and give it time to work. And slowly it'll bring the color back for you if you've lost that color. Even if you've dry cleaned or wet cleaned this item and you've taken the color before and you've dry cleaned and wet cleaned it afterwards, you can still save the color by using this method. Alright, what we have here is some oxidized blood that's been on for a long time. Sometimes you have shirt laundry and the blood's been through several pressings. The customer forgot to tell you about them. So that's what this blood is for. When you have oxidized blood, this is the way that we're going to get it out. We're going to use our enzyme product called Liposol. I'm going to show you how to do it. The first thing you'll do is get some used poly. Lay the poly down. We're going to wet the area with steam. And you don't want to get it too hot. Just want the moisture from the steam. Going to add the Liposol, small amount onto there, and let the Liposol kind of work it in. That's all you really have to do. After that, we're going to cover this with the same poly. And we're going to heat it with the gun. We're going to open our towel. We're going to take our garment and we're going to place it in the towel. We're going to cover it, and then we're going to put it in a warm spot. If you place it all the way inside the towel, you can put it on the back of a still on top of the machine. You can put it in the boiler room. Put it any place where it stays warm and consistent temperature for 20 to 40 minutes for this to work. Now, keys to remember with Liposol. It's an enzyme, and so it has a shelf life. Ours has a very long shelf life, which works very, very well. But you simply put it on. It's clear. It's made from the remnants of making beer, so it's very, very easy for you to use. It digests. It's a digester. The same way that your food digests inside your stomach, this does to protein stains. So we use the enzymes in there to work and just let them sit in there and work. And they will change this old blood into something that we can actually get off with our other chemistry that's in here, or it'll take it out completely. So what we're going to do now is take this and put it aside and keep it warm and keep it moist. Enzymes must stay warm, they must stay moist. And that's the idea of using the plastic and the towel in a warm place. So this is our green blouse, still with the egg yolk on it. I'll show you how to use the Liposol in order to get the egg yolk out. And what we've done is we've flushed through any remnants of spotting agents that we had on before. And we do that to make sure that the pH is neutral in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this up on the hard surface. We're going to add our Liposol. Before we do, we're going to wet the area. It's actually still wet from before. We're going to use it so it warms it up just a little bit. We're going to add the Liposol down, and we're going to tamp that Liposol in. Then in order to keep the Liposol enzyme product, we're going to use that to keep it moist and keep it warm. We're going to cover it with some poly. So I have poly underneath, I have poly on top. We're going to heat the area. And I don't want to get it too hot, I just want to keep it warm, about 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So I keep it warm, and we're going to take the whole thing, we're going to place it inside of a towel. Just like this. Cover it with the towel, and now we can take it and sit it on top of a still or some other warm place in the plant, say in the boiler room, and keep it warm, keep it moist for 20 to 40 minutes while the enzymes work at breaking down the stains and digesting them. Okay, so now we're able to review. We've let this sit for a while. We're able to come back and review our Liposol and our egg. So we open up our plastic here, pull that out, and then we're going to spot just like we normally would. So we've worked with the egg and using the Liposol now. So now we're just going to use our normal stain removers. We're going to use our mild stain remover for protein stains, which is Frankosol. And we're just going to use a brush and tamp that area. Put a towel underneath. Put on the vacuum. Again, we're kind of holding the material so you can see the enzymes have done their job to allow us to remove the egg on the knit. And we're all set. So what we have here is our oxidized blood stain. We didn't actually were able to keep it as moist and warm as I wanted to have it, so we'll add a little moisture to it. And we're going to come back with our Frankosol, which is very, very safe, and put that on to help us remove the last remnants of the blood. See how much easier the blood comes out. So you can imagine doing this on silk or wool, where you have to worry a little bit more about alkalinity on the fabric. Much easier to get it out in this way. Simply the Frankosol, and we'll flush here with steam and air. Here. I think you can see the stain, just like that's pretty much gone. Okay, so here we have a silk swatch. It's actually silk material. And we have an old red wine stain on here. This happens to be a Pinot Noir. And so what we're going to do in order to take out this stain or help remove this stain, we're going to add a little bit of moisture to start out with. And you can clearly see it's got some red wine on there. We're going to add our yellow bottle, which is Frankosol. We're going to add a little bit of Frankosol, a couple drops, to give us a little lubricant and surfactants in there to help us work. And we're going to tamp this in. And rather than tamping it, even though this is a pretty soft brush, we're going to tamp it in with the cloth covered brush. So the cloth covered brush will simply wet a little bit before we start, and then just go ahead and tamp. So as you can see, with the continued tamping, we're kind of getting down to the point where we're just getting that hard edge that's remaining on the red wine stain. At this point, you can add a little bit of heat to improve the effectiveness of the chemistry. Again, this is a 6-month-old Pinot Noir on silk. If you're still having trouble getting it out, bring it over now and flush it out. We can go to bleach, or we can go to our color salt. In essence, you can see that we're down to just a very, very small amount left over inside of there. So now we can go with Colorsol to get the last remnants of the dye left over from the wine. Or we could go with our Blankotex bleach. And we'll try them both. The Colorsol on silk is very safe on this color silk. And Colorsol is dependent upon adding heat. So add a little bit of heat. And I am getting close, but I'm only getting close with a whisper from the gun. So I'm not actually spraying. You see the Colorsol's having a good effect as far as removing that hard outside ring. And when you're ready, you can flush. Using a little air. There we have it. Here we have red wine on white linen lined material. We're going to use a little bit of moisture first. Add a little Francosol. Add some lubricating to it. And we're going to tamp, in this case with a soft brush. And we'll briefly rinse out as much wine as we can. Using this vacuum and steam gun. Now we'll come back, and now we'll go to our Tannin Cavasol. The Cavasol will help us to remove the remaining wine stain. Again, we'll just tamp. You could also use the bone, but all we're looking for is mechanical action. Again, this is white linen, the lining behind it. We're going to add a little bit of heat to help it and assist the tannin to pick up a little bit more. Now, at this point, we have two options. One, we can use our bleach, a little bit of our Blankotex bleach, or we can try a little bit of our Colorsol. In this case, we're going to use Colorsol, but before we do, we're going to rinse. Now, this is a good opportunity for me to show you that the lining on this is acetate. Acetate is a problem with Colorsol. It could be a problem. So we want to get rid of that acetate lining, pull it out of there, get underneath it before we work on this. And now we're going to go ahead and use our Colorsol. Colorsol works the best when it's heated. We're going to add a little bit of heat to it. And the wine stain is gone. this is a black cotton velvet vest. A lot of people are afraid to work on velvet, so I'm just going to show you some foundation. Put on black velvet. Black velvet is basically a plain weave on the back side. If you think of a plain weave as being my fingers crossed like this is a plain weave, and the fibers coming up and through like this, and that's your black velvet. What they do then is they basically cut off those fibers, and that gives you the fuzzies that's on this side. If you push too hard, what happens is those fibers push all the way through, and you'll leave a mark. So you want to be careful how you do this. So we have some makeup on here, and we're going to remove this on the black velvet. So we're just going to treat it like anything else. We're going to put a little bit of our Perchlorethylene on here to try and lift, just like we would on anything, the makeup, and we're just going to try and flush it through to see how this works. Well, it works a little bit, but not really well. So we'll come back with our other makeup mover, which is Liposol. We put the Liposol on, and we'll work it here over the hard surface of the board. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the soft brush, and we're going to gently tamp this area. We can also use the bone and again gently rub it. You can see that works very, very well. So if we were to remove this, we put the Liposol on, gently rub, and you can see it has no effect on the velvet. The velvet's just fine. I'm just going to take out this one part so that you can see how it comes out. Now in order to flush, we'll put a towel underneath to help protect the velvet and capture the makeup. We're going to go ahead and we're going to steam. We're going to steam straight through. You could also use the Perchlorethylene. You could use the Perchlorethylene and just flush through and dry clean right here on the board, which as you can see works very, very well. Take some air, and when we put the air down, we're not going to get too close. We're going to come way back up with the air gun. And just simply flush that chemistry right down into the towel. You can see the makeup right there. It's been pushed all the way through. The back of the backing is fine, and the velvet itself is just fine. You don't see any lines or marks in the velvet. Okay, so if I was to do the rest of it, you can do it right over the towel if you'd like to. Just slide it back. The towel that will then absorb the excess. We're just using Liposol, which works very well on this. Gentle motion with the bone. By gentle, I'm just barely touching it. Just enough to give us action here. If you have a larger area, you can go right to the larger area and do that as well. Now we're going to do it with steam. We're going to flush through with steam in the same way. Again, the steam, I'm not going to get too close. I'm going to lift way up, put on the vacuum, have the steam way up in the air so it doesn't cause any damage. If you're not careful and you get too close with the steam gun, you're going to push the fibers. The fibers look just like this towel. It'll push the fibers clear through. We don't want that. So we're going to just flush through with the vacuum on, add air, and air dry it using a circular motion from way up in the air. Just a little bit there. You can see I missed a little bit here. I didn't quite catch it all. So I simply add the Liposol in. It's wonderful to be able to use a POG with moisture and not have to worry about having problems with it rinsing out. towels, as you can see, it comes out beautiful. No damage at all to it. The back's fine. We need to dry out the remainder of the back. That's really it. You can see where all that makeup is. It's here in the towel. What we have here is a white cotton blouse that has chicken gravy on it. It happens to come from KFC. So what we're going to do is use a towel underneath it. We're just going to try rinsing it with the steam gun a little bit. Wetting the area. Then we're going to bring it over to the hard part of the board. And we're going to put a little bit of our Quick-All on. You'll see this in the chart that we try starting everything out with Quick-All. Quick-All, a little tamping. And the Quick-All removes the oils. So anything that has any type of oil in it, all your vegetable sauces and things like that have oils in it. Then we're going to use our yellow bottle, which is the Frankisol. Frankisol will help you break up gravies, any kind of sauces, green chili, red chili. It does a great job with that. And we'll work it a little bit with the bone. And you can just see that stain breaking apart and coming apart right before your eyes. This is without even going after anything else. So I think you can see very easily that this is coming out with only the blue bottle and the yellow bottle, the Quick-All and the Frankisol. Just like it shows on the chart, so many stains come out with these things and they work beautifully together. So we'll come up here. We'll take a dry spot on the towel and we'll simply flush this area out. Now obviously if you're cleaning with water, we wouldn't go to the extent of flushing all this all the way out. We just go ahead and put it in the water. If we're dry cleaning, then we would just simply flush it out and then put it in with the dry cleaning. So this is really all that you have to do. Okay, I get asked this a lot. Water rings on, this happens to be a satin dress, and how to get that hard edge that develops from the migration of sizings and soil and dyes out to the outside edges, where you get that. So we have a ring. And essentially what you want to do is take a towel, put it underneath. You want a dry towel. Put it underneath. For a small area like this, you're going to turn on the vacuum. Add a little bit of air. And work your way around the outside edge. Okay? Work from the outside, staying well outside the outside, and work your way to the inside. Okay? So when we dry, we start on the outside, working our way in. When we wet, we start from the inside, working our way to the outside. So that's what we're going to do now. We go ahead and hit the air, turn on the vacuum. I do a little zigzag motion, if you notice, as I go around that outside. Going to the inside, and as I get to the middle, I just lift it up. You can see that ring is all gone. When you need to spot and take out the ring, oftentimes you need to wet it first. So to wetting, we start on the inside and work our way to the outside. Sometimes you get a ring that's too big, and so you need to feather that outside edge. So what we do is we make this big ring into something smaller, about this size, and work on each little area first, and then feather it all back in. So that's what I'm going to do, is wet it first from the inside out. I'm still working over the towel. A little bit of vacuum on. By using the vacuum and working over the towel, I get less moisture on the garment. Okay, now I have a big ring to work with. I'm going to start my air, turn on my vacuum. Start start working toward this from this outside edge. Move it up over the vacuum. The vacuum's here in the middle. You start drying small areas. Working my way in. Moving it across the table gently and evenly. I'm pulling on the towel, not the brush. Working my way in, working around the outside edge. Notice my gun stays completely horizontal as I'm doing this, never turn to one side or the other. Working in from the outside to the inside. Don't stop too early. Big old circle, working your way in, and lift up and come off. And when you're done, no ring. This is a heavily sized satin dress, which most of you have had to work with, and you know the kind of rings you can get on this. So this is the way that you feather. Okay, what we have here is yellow mustard, the dreaded yellow mustard. I have it on a cotton muslin swatch. First thing you do is you notice tamping. So we do tamping, but what we do is we're going to smack this, providing the fabric will take it. We're going to give it a smack, and then we're going to flick the excess away. So smack it a couple of times, and when we flick, we're going to use this type of a motion. Take the brush, turn it up on one edge, and simply go in one direction, flipping it off to the side. We want to rub off any excess that we can get off of it. I'm not scrubbing, I'm not rubbing like this, I'm simply turning it up on edge and flipping it. Okay? This is providing the fabric will take that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to wet it. And we're going to add some Quickall, or neutral lubricant, neutral synthetic detergent. And we're going to start working on that spot with this same brush. You start to see that mustard start breaking up, pulling away. And by the way, while I'm here, I'll just show you. You see the yellow on the brush? Just put the vacuum on, and you can flush the brush clean right there. So we can also use the bone in this area. See a lot of number 11 yellow dye in yellow mustard. So you add a little bit of Frankisol. And Frankisol will help us by making the fabric a little bit slick, lubricating the fabric so the stain is easier to get off and so it doesn't spread quite so easily. Then we're going to add our tannin. So our tannin Cavasol. And we'll work the area with the Cavasol. So what we've done is we've added a little bit of our Blankotex bleach. We've wet the area, we've added a little Blankotex on top of there. We're heating it up. This is to get the mustard out. Again, it's the heat mixed in with the moisture. Blankotex has a lot of oxygen to offer, which helps us bleach away stains. And this is just the last remnants of the yellow dye. On most things they won't require this, but if you had to bleach, we wanted to be able to show you how to use the Blankotex to remove those kind of stains. And the heat just speeds up the process. And there you are from the yellow mustard stain to no stain at all. Just adding a little bit of bleach to finish it off. So this is stain removal using agents that will remove, this is Salsa sauce. Salsa is much like many of the other types of sauces you might get. Steak sauce is a lot along the same lines. Soy sauce is along the same lines. So this is a good one to show you. So essentially we have the salsa. We're going to hit it with the brush to brush off any excess that's on there. Again, we're going to flick by lifting up and lightly brushing this way. Only one direction, lightly brushing. We're going to come back, we're going to add a little bit of moisture. We're going to add our quick-all, and we're going to tamp. You can see immediately, as with most gravies and most sauces, it starts breaking up the top. You can clearly see it starting to come apart. That doesn't mean the stain's gone by any means, but it certainly is a big help. So we start breaking it up with the quick-all, which removes the oils. We add a little bit of the Frankisol to that same thing. You don't need a lot, just a few drops. Add it to it, spread it around, and I'm massaging with the back of the bone. That massaging action is just mechanical action, much like we'd use in the washer or the dry cleaning machine. Just gently massaging that out. Now we want to get rid of as much of this as we possibly can, so we're going to use the towel, bring it over to a dry place on the towel, and just flush through. Turn on the vacuum, steam, flush. Notice I'm not getting too close to the fabric because I don't want to destroy the fabric. And Seitz chemicals keep working, so we keep flushing. Sometimes we'll even move to a different spot because a lot of that will go inside there. But this one I think we're ready to go back and do a little bit more work back here on the board. So now we're way down from where we were. We're very happy with what results we've gotten so far, so we're going to add just a touch more, same two chemicals, and go back to doing the same thing. A little tamping. It's just mechanical action, breaking down the same type of stain. You can also use the bone, gently massaging the back. Oftentimes spotters hurry too fast to take right over to the edge of the gun and flush everything out. The chemistry needs at least 10 seconds to work. We're now going to add our tannin because this sauce is a tannin. Any salsa has vegetables in it. Anything that grows from a plant is a tannin stain, and so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to tamp with that. Now if it was a small area, you can use our tamping brush. Tamping brush is very nice to work on a small area. This happens to be bigger, and we probably use the normal brush, but this is the way that you do it. So we have the light colored in, the dark colored in for different types of items. Again, you can add just a little bit of heat, which brings on a little help in removing the stain. Bear in mind that some fabrics can't take this heat or the moisture, so you should be testing dyes before you put any chemical on. You're getting a pretty good effect here. So now we'll flush. If it's not quite all the way out, you can either add bleach or you can go back to right what you were doing and add a little bit more. We have some gold lame here. This is actually a foil, and this is on a lot of materials and decorative trims. We have mascara, which is just out for the eyes, makeup for the eyes. We're going to use our Liposol and just put the Liposol, a few drops right on there. Very gently use our bone. I'm not rubbing very hard because if I do, I can make marks on the metal. It's just like rubbing into soft metal. So we're using the Liposol to get the mascara out. Some mascaras do not perform well for different types of things, so we're going to try the Quickall on there. And the Quickall seems to really be breaking it down, or the two of them in combination, really breaking it down there. We'll pull our towel up, and we'll go ahead and flush through with the volatile dry solvent Perchlorethylene. And we're just basically dry cleaning here on the end of the board, flushing those chemicals through. Little air. And you can see, if you look very carefully, that the gold foil, the lame, is in perfect condition. There's no damages to it. But we've removed the mascara. Completely gone. Just a little bit of work on some fabrics that are unusual that we need to do. And so what we have here is we have some lace. And this has some blue ink on it. You can see the blue ink running along there. And I just want to talk a little bit about how to treat the lace. You can see how fine the knit is in the lacing. So you have to be careful with these kind of things when you work on it. It's best to work on it over a towel to help prevent any damage to the lace. It's also good to lift up the weight of the gown and place it underneath there. So we're going to go with the same thing. We're going to go with our Quickall, which removes ink. Put it right on there. You can see it removing the ink right away. It's going right under the towel. You can see how quickly it goes. Move to a different spot. Again, we're being just a little more gentle with it, trying to protect the lace. The chemistry goes on there. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to flush this, but we're going to lift way up, so we're using very little pressure from the moisture to flush it. Turn on the vacuum. Now using this height, you don't have to worry about the heat on the back of your hand. You don't have to worry about it on the dress. Flush it through. Give it a little bit of air in the same motion. Move to a dry spot on the towel. And dry your lace fabric, whether it's this or a tablecloth or whatever. Dry it very gently from up high. Being very careful not to get too close to protect the fabric. See where the blue ink was, this area here. And you notice when I move this, I'm moving the towel to help move the dress around so the stress is not on the dress. A little bit more right here. Just air dry this. Way up in the air. And boom. All the ink's gone, no damage at all to the lace. This is important. So what we have here is a khaki pant with the normal grease marks from the keys left in the pocket, people brushing up against their automobile. This is taken right off of an automobile. So what we're going to use is the Perchlorethylene, or VDS, put the vacuum on, and just basically put some of that on there. See if we can get it to flush through. If it doesn't come all the way out, pull it up here onto the board. Add a little bit of our Liposol, which is a paint oil and grease. Very gently give it a little rub. And I do mean gently. To get it to come out. So this is lined underneath. So you do have a lining underneath there. You have to be aware of that lining when you're working with products here. Vacuum on. We're going to flush through with the VDS. We're going to air dry. Trying to work from the outside to the inside. When you get like this, you just take the towel, add a little bit of Perchlorethylene onto the towel, and you can turn on the air and just simply feather from the inside to the outside to take away that ring. Alright, we have a red silk here, red silk blouse. We have nail polish on it, and so we're going to remove the nail polish on the red silk. So what we're going to start with is a little bit of our Perchlorethylene. We've already tested, as we showed previously, the blouse to make sure it'll accept the Perchlorethylene. We're starting off pretty much just letting it set for a second to see if the Perchlorethylene will break down this, and not so much. We're going to add the Liposol, which is paint oil grease. And the Liposol really helps. Again, when I'm rubbing very, very gently. You could use a soft brush on this. All I'm trying to do is really get it to break down and turn back into something we can easily rinse out. So we'll add a little bit more Liposol. You can see as I peel it back, I'm not really getting any red color. I'm not having to worry about color being a problem. And a little bit more of the Perchlorethylene to solve it. Notice I'm doing it on the table and not on the vacuum. This is a very thick area, so it's a little bit harder to rinse, but we've broken it down now. Without a lot of rubbing, we've broken it down. Pull it back over here. We'll add the vacuum, and we're going to go ahead and flush through with the Perchlorethylene. We're going to use air. Let's see what kind of result we have here. We're using our vacuum to help lift the moisture out. Okay, you can see now that we've dried it out. We've still got a little bit of the nail polish left inside of there. So we need to get the remainder of that nail polish out. It was moving very, very well with the Perchlorethylene, so we're going to put that on. We're actually going to flush through with the Perchlorethylene. Give it a little bit of Liposol. And we'll go ahead and rub as long as we're on the towel. I wouldn't rub if I was just on the holes underneath here, but since we're on the towel, I'm able to give it a gentle massage. Again, we'll flush through with the Perchlorethylene. You want to keep that spillage from happening, put your finger over the end and do it this way. Add air. And now we'll go ahead and add steam. We're going to flush those to take out the rings. And we'll change the towel's position, make it a little bit easier for us to dry it. Probably saw just a mild amount of dye on the towel. You're going to get a little bit sometimes. As long as it's not damaging the color on the blouse, we're okay. now we have all the nail polish is gone without any damage to the color. We just have the ring around. So for that ring, what we'll do is we'll take our poly spot. Just before cleaning, we'll spray it with the poly spot and throw it in the machine. So this is a Vera Wang blouse, black and white combination. What we have is a cuff with butter on it. Probably see the butter. So in removing butter, we're going to use our quick all, just like you have in the book. Put our finger over it so we don't spray it all over everywhere. Work it very gently. Because we know it's better, go right to our Francosol, which is great for dairy products. It's a very mild protein. We're not really concerned about the color on this blouse, even though it's very delicate, because these are so mild of agents. And we'll work them very gently. We'll take our towel and move it up here, wipe off the area. Find a dry spot on there. Pull that cuff back up. And we're going to flush with steam. Put it on the vacuum. Obviously in cuffs there's double the thickness. Move to a dry spot. Start at one side, and we're going to start air drying. As you can see, as you're air drying this, pretty much then all that stain's gone. It looks very nice. No problem with the colors on the Vera Wang. It's just able to use this nozzle to help you out.